When peripheral artery disease reaches advanced stages, where patients' arteries in their legs are completely blocked and they can barely take a step without excruciating pain, and they're awakened from a dead sleep with leg cramps they liken to the worst Charlie horse you could ever imagine, with some even talking about wounds that won't heal on their foot or toes that are infected, with some having developed gangrene. Time is of the essence to get blood flowing through their legs and into their feet. Time is tissue. So when a doctor says, hey patient, you need your arteries opened up, and I am ready to do that for you, patients have a glimmer of hope for some much needed relief for their unconscionable pain. But when insurance companies delay approval for these limb salvage procedures or reject them altogether for whatever reason, and we are seeing more and more of that right now, it is the patients who are left to suffer from pain in which patients tell me not one narcotic can even cut through. They say, you try walking and sleeping with a tourniquet wrapped tightly around your leg with your tissue, your nerves, your muscles screaming for critical oxygen and other nutrients to survive. Well, maybe then these insurance companies will have a change of heart and allow doctors to do what they feel is right for their patients. That is, if they understood that or even had empathy for these patients. But these patients are not human beings to these insurance companies. They're purely an entry on a spreadsheet. They're a cost to cut. Insurance companies look for any reason to deny claims, and I'm not arguing about the rejection of claims for patients who are considered intermittent claudicants, who have not tried conservative therapy first. No, I'm addressing the denial of treatment for patients with lifestyle-limiting claudication and limb-threatening symptoms. These insurance companies are looking for any excuse to save a buck, even with these very sick patients. Whether it's a media article filled with flawed data that Aetna and United Healthcare are now using to make it more difficult for patients to have limb salvage procedures, either denying them altogether or forcing these doctors to perform a diagnostic angiogram and then map out their entire strategy, including planned tools and techniques for advanced approval, thereby subjecting especially high-risk CKD patients to unnecessary additional contrast fluid and further delaying treatment, leading to additional weeks of suffering for all patients. Yeah, that's not right. Then there's the insurance provider in Michigan, which denies limb salvage on patients who don't see a certified vascular surgeon, as if a trained limb salvage specialist in the field of interventional cardiology or interventional radiology are not qualified. How about in Texas, where I've had patients be denied limb salvage, one with an infected toe wound, another with a gangrene spreading across multiple digits, where an obstetrician and a pediatrician were the medical reviewers denying those claims for urgent treatment. Oh, and there's an insurance provider in Arkansas that has selected studies that show treating a lesion in the superficial femoral artery that's more than 5 centimeters in a minimally invasive way is not as durable as a bypass, in order to create a guideline that requires case reviewers to deny a claim without considering a patient that may have other comorbidities that don't make them a good surgical candidate. And don't get me even started on Cigna. Yeah, using an algorithm to review and often reject hundreds of thousands of patient health insurance claims, with doctors as medical reviewers simply rubber stamping those denials without reviewing each case. At least here in California, there's a state law that requires that insurers conduct a, quote, thorough, fair, and objective, unquote, investigation into each patient claim. So a class action lawsuit has been filed against Cigna for its alleged misbehavior. But more needs to be done, and quick, to stop needless suffering of these patients. More protections need to be in place to protect the patient and put the patient over profit of these insurance companies. The treatment for PAD and its advanced stage CLI are evolving at the speed of light, and depending on the peer-reviewed data these insurance companies choose to use to develop their policy depends on whether a patient may keep their life and their limb. These are the same peer-reviewed studies that even the vascular specialists themselves and their societies can't even agree upon at this point. So how is it that these insurance providers can deny care based on them? How can we trust these insurance providers to make these life and limb determinations for our patients as to what treatments they need or they don't need? That should be 100% left to the supervising doctor. And if that insurance company does not like the choices a doctor is making, then don't sign a managed care contract with them. It's as simple as that. But heck, why do I think that logic is going to prevail here when these are the same insurance companies that are denying reimbursement for the use of intravascular ultrasound known as IVUS, which has been proven over and over and over again in multiple studies and spelled out in peer-reviewed articles that it truly does make a difference in the sizing of a vessel for the balloons and stents. And they're doing this simply because society guidelines haven't kept up with advancements in technology. And even more concerning is these are the same insurance companies that are reimbursing amputations without a prior vascular assessment, leading to the greatest number of limbs lost for patients with this wretched disease. The time is now for change. I am on the front lines watching these patients needlessly suffer due to delayed and rejected limb-saving care, coaching them through the night to dangle their feet over the side of the bed to bring even an ounce of relief that would get them through the night. The longer they have to wait, the more damage is done, both physically and mentally. Insurance companies, please do what's right. Choose your doctors wisely and then put the power back into the hands of those choice supervising physicians. It'll not only save you time and money, but it'll also, more importantly, save patients from needless, unconscionable suffering. And one more thing, as I know insurance companies will not do this by choice, you know this. So regulators pass legislation that requires transparency in insurance coverage policies on its treatment guidelines for every disease so patients can make a more informed decision as to whether the policy is aligned with their treatment needs. For the sake of the patient, the time is now to act. Who's in? Let's save life and limb together.